Hi, everyone. It's Hallie. We will get started in 1 second. Thanks for being here, everyone. Let me share my screen and we will get started in 1 minute. Appreciate your time. Let me share my screen. All right. As we allow everyone to hop on, everyone should be able to see my screen and hear me. If you could let me know in the chat, just give me a yes if you can hear me and see my screen, that would be fantastic. And we are recording today, so you will receive a copy of the recording automatically, just FYI. And please let us know in the chat if you can hear and see my screen. If you can just give me a yes, that would be fantastic, so I know we're good to go. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And I'll look out for making sure that everybody can see everything. So I'm Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach, speaker, and author. My company is based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have coaches all over the country. We've been coaching and training for just over 25 years now, and we're thrilled to be here with you all today to talk about resiliency during a layoff to help you find a job you love, because that's what we are all about, is making sure people are in the right career path, not just for the short term, but for the long run. Everyone should be able to see my screen and hear me okay. If you could just give me a yes in the chat that you can hear me and see my screen and the slides, that would be fantastic. And we are recording today. You will automatically receive a copy of the recording via email. You'll get that pretty much right away after the session today or within 24 hours. So we're going to be talking about resiliency during a layoff to find a job you love today. And this is a really big deal for a lot of people because so many people have been laid off or are concerned about it. And I know it's, incredibly stressful for people. And what we want people to be thinking about is how they can kind of leverage this time, be as resilient as possible, and leverage this time in order to find the right next fit for them job-wise, not just jump into whatever comes your way, but be really intentional about it to find a job you love. So for those of you who have just joined us, I'm Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach. I've been coaching and training since 2002. We've got great coaches on our team and resume writers. My undergrad degree is from Vanderbilt University, and I have a master's degree from the University of Illinois. And we absolutely love what we do. And the advice that we're going to give you all today is advice that we give to our clients to help them deal with the emotional toll and kind of mental toll of being laid off, and how to try to turn that into a positive as much as possible to find a job that you really enjoy for your next step and kind of craft or create your career path in a direction that you really want to go. So the bad news, as we all know, is that tech companies have laid off so many people, and obviously other industries have as well. And this is just one example of a statistic from this year. And we know that a lot of people that have been coming to us have been recently laid off, and it can be really overwhelming for people, understandably. It causes a lot of anxiety. Some people are concerned about their severance and not really understanding, exactly what they're getting or what's coming next for them. A lot of people get into analysis paralysis, and they're unsure what to do next and how to handle their search effectively. There's definitely a big emotional toll that goes along with this. And it's understandable if you feel like you're unsure how to use your time wisely in your job search. And what we want you to get or understand first is that just like anything else, like being a professional athlete, if you will, this is a mental game. And you need to try to get past the layoff as soon as you possibly can. And we're going to talk about that today so that your head is in the game for the interviews, the networking, everything else that we want you to be doing for your job search. So What I'll tell you is that although there are a lot of layoffs occurring, and that's kind of the bad news or the tough news, is that the good news is that we are finding that our clients are able to get jobs faster than they anticipated. So the job market actually is still pretty good. Companies and organizations are hiring. So even though people are stressed about being laid off, they're able to find a job faster than they expected because the unemployment rate is still pretty low. So that's the good news. And I want you to kind of take that with you from today to try to help you be as positive as possible regarding your situation and turn that energy away from frustration, anger, everything else that you may be feeling, which is completely understandable, and try to turn that into being determined to find the right job fit for you next. So here's what we're going to talk about, the essential things that we would recommend to deal with a layoff and find a job that you love is to process your emotions effectively and really take the time to do that. Make sure that you understand, what's going on with your severance and what's being offered and, negotiate a little bit if you think that's possible. Get your house in order, your resume, LinkedIn, all of your materials, all of that, so that you can apply for the right jobs. And as part of getting your house in order, what we'll talk about today too is how to identify the right next fit for you using our ideal career model. And then finally, we want you to activate your network and get that going as soon as possible for networking purposes, and asking for and getting support along the way too, because that's a critical piece to everything as you go, because again, layoffs can be so frustrating and upsetting for people. So let's start with number one, and this is processing your emotions. People feel so many different things about being laid off. And number one, we want you to understand and get that you're not alone, that it's okay to grieve, and kind of grieving is part of the process. I know it may sound a little odd, but we've even had clients who couldn't stand their jobs get laid off, and they were like, I'm still really sad about it, even though it wasn't the right fit and I didn't like my boss or I didn't like the job itself. There's a grieving process whenever anything ends. So give yourself some time. Try to not take the whole thing personally and realize that so many people are being laid off and it's not personal against you. But take some time to journal, talk with a supportive friend or partner. Write down what you're feeling so that you can kind of process it and get through it. Give yourself time, whether it's like exercising, taking a walk in nature, different types of things that can help you process your emotions, however is best for you, is a really important piece to this process, because people or prospective employers and networking connections, they're going to be able to tell if you're angry or frustrated or feeling down. Your efforts are not going to be as effective as they would if your head was in the game instead. And that's what we're trying to get you to do. You can't just step over those emotions, push them aside, or ignore them. You have to give yourself time to kind of move through them. And one of the things we want you to do, because part of the grieving process is you may miss some of your coworkers, et cetera, is make a plan, decide who you want to stay in touch with, and make a plan for doing that. Make sure you're connected with people on LinkedIn. Make sure that you're like, hey, let's set up lunch in the next month or so, or whoever it is that you want to stay connected with. And as part of processing your emotions, on this next slide, the other part of this we want you to think about is remember that your job is not your identity. For some people, this is more of a struggle than others. And when they lose their job, it is a blow to their confidence. So as much as possible, we want you to do and try one or two of the items on this list here on this slide. Write down some affirmations that you will post on your bathroom mirror or your refrigerator that help you feel more confident. Review your accomplishments career-wise. This is part of what's great about like updating your resume actually, is it gets you in touch again with like, oh yeah, I did all these cool things in my career. Ask and interview other people about your strengths so that you can get grounded in those again. Make sure to ask for a reference or recommendation on LinkedIn from your supervisor, colleagues, clients, etc. And read those, print them out, put them on your desk. Some people like to have a music playlist that boosts their confidence. It could be exercising, taking a walk in nature, all the stuff that we've already talked about. But it's really important to process those difficult emotions, to move through them, And then think about, as part of that, okay, what gets me into a positive mindset? Is it when I ask for support? So if you take a look at this next slide, does it help me when I talk to one of my particular friends who's really positive? Does it help me when I start networking with people and start putting myself out there so I don't feel alone? It's really important and helpful for everyone to avoid negative Nellies, push aside negative thoughts, and as much as possible, surround yourself with positive influences and people. One of the ways that you can do this is to look at what others are doing on LinkedIn to network and stay positive during this time, and ask people for help on LinkedIn, and make sure, obviously, that at any point in time, whether it's networking, but also during interviews, make sure that you're really good about not bashing your former employer. So any one of these things that will help you with your emotional state, we'd like you to pick like two of them, the ones that seem to resonate the most with you, and you can always add to the list over time, but pick two in the next week that you'll start to work on and work towards, so that you can start to deal with whatever it is that's going on for you emotionally as it relates to being laid off. The other thing that you can think about, and then we'll go to our second step here, is think about, like, what's the opportunity for me here? What are the things that how can I turn this time in my life into an opportunity to, like, really be mindful and thoughtful about my career path, what's next for me, and getting into the right next position. And we'll talk more in a moment about our ideal career model and how we want people to use that in order to craft their materials in the right way, but also be really, really clear about their next steps so that they're intentional about things. So as part of our next step, we want you to look at and update your resume, LinkedIn, and your elevator speech, and we'll start to talk about those in the next couple of slides. Before you make updates to your materials, part of what we want you to do is we want you to think about, okay, what's my ideal next job? This doesn't have to take that long. If you already are a little bit clear about, or you're in the right industry, you think it may be that I just need to try a different role, or I would like the same role, but at a different organization that's going to be a better fit for me. But we want you to at least take like 5 minutes to identify what the ideal next job is for you so that you can find a job you love. Think about the fulfillment piece first at the very bottom here. This is the cornerstone. What would be rewarding for you in this next step for you in terms of your career path? Do you want a little bit more of a leadership position? Would you like to be a manager or not really? Would you like to get more into the weeds and be able to work directly with clients more? Think about what has been fulfilling for you in your career so far and make a list of those things, because that can give you clues to what some of your possible values are and help you understand what would be rewarding for you for this next step of your career. The fulfillment piece impacts all of the other pieces. You're not going to be fulfilled, for example, if you're in the wrong work environment. You need to be compensated in the right way, or else your job's not going to be fulfilling. So that's why we have our clients always start with fulfillment first, because number one, it influences everything else. And number two, it gives them the most career ideas. It helps them think outside the box more so than they would otherwise if they started with, okay, for example, I'm good at this, I have experience with this, and I'm going to get paid well. If you don't consider the work environment and your personality type, and also what you would enjoy task-wise, you're going to be or end up in the wrong fit. So start with fulfillment. With the enjoyment piece, this is where we want you to think about different tasks that you performed that you'd like to perform on a regular basis, and give each one a percentage. So my main job, let's say, for example, might be as a career coach using me. That's the most fulfilling thing for me. I want to focus on that and perform tasks related to that and educating people as my main role. But guess what? The enjoyment piece is also important to people. I like giving presentations. I like doing some marketing, some writing, that type of thing. So the enjoyment is where you start to think about the other parts of your day and what are the other things you'd like to be doing, but also to help you brainstorm alternative career ideas based on the tasks that you've performed or the projects you've worked on in the past that have been most enjoyable for you. Next, we want you to take a look at strengths. So we go to the left here with the model. We want you to identify your top 5 strengths and how you want to leverage those in your career path next. Do you want to use the same ones that you've been using, but just in a different way or for a different purpose within a different industry or role, for example? But get really clear on your strengths, because if you're not leveraging your strengths on a regular basis, that job is not going to be fulfilling and rewarding for you. It can be a really big problem. So think about those strengths as well. Then we want you to go and look at education and experience, these next two. Brainstorm career ideas based on classes you enjoyed in college. It's been a long time for me. I'm 50, so college was a long time ago. But when I was brainstorming and thinking about my ideal career path in my late 20s, I remembered that I had really liked those psychology and communication and education courses at Vandy. And that gave me some clues to, I kind of want to go on this education route in some way, shape, or form. Experience, same thing. Think about past experiences, even non-traditional work ones, whether it's volunteer work or other work that you've done that you've really enjoyed. And think about the elements of those experiences that you want to bring forward maybe in this next step for you. The cool thing about the strengths, education, and experience sections, just by the way, or pieces of the model, is that number one, they can help you brainstorm alternative ideas when you use them in the way that I just described. But number two, you can also use them to narrow down the ideas that you already have to help you understand whether you're qualified for those ideas or not, right? So these three can help you maybe take some of the ideas that you initially had from fulfillment off of the list. If you're like, those aren't quite realistic, let me think of some other ones that could be related to these, but would be more realistic for me. Next, we want you to think about your personality type. This is a really important piece because your personality type, you can't change. You are who you are. You're more introverted or extroverted. You're more of a detail-oriented person than maybe a big picture strategic person. The personality or your personality type, I should say, influences the right role for you, the type of people that you want to work with, ideally, and the right work environment as well. So then we move to work environment. And this is anything from the corporate culture, the values, the mission of the organization where you want to work, whether you're working remotely or in a hybrid model or in person. Lots of different things that fall under environment. And compensation is last. It's absolutely not least. It's a really important piece to the process. We all have to pay our bills. We need benefits, etc. But the reason why we leave it last is because we want you to use that, again, similar to education, experience, and strengths, to narrow down your ideas based on practical considerations. If you start with compensation first, you're going to cut yourself off at the knees in terms of your brainstorming different ideas, and you won't give yourself a chance to really see what else is out there that you didn't even know existed in terms of a possible job for you. All right. Next, once you have identified your ideal next job, then obviously we've got to update your materials, revise your resume, LinkedIn profile. Yes, we want you to have a cover letter. Some people will still ask for it. And if nothing else, it's good content that you could use to get in front of a hiring manager on LinkedIn, etc. Some of our top tips are listed on this slide here. You want to make sure that you check the formatting. Your resume can be more than one page. We like 2 pages as an ideal. You want to make sure you've got a summary at the top. You mention marketable results every time in each of your bullet points. And you want to make sure you search engine optimize your materials, meaning your LinkedIn and your resume. And when we talk about a summary at the top, here's an example and what we mean here. As a reminder, you'll get a copy of the recording from today automatically. But this is what we mean by a summary. We don't want you to skip this part and get right into your experience. We want you to have something that sells you for each job that you're applying to. And yes, you need to tailor your resume to each job that you're applying to. It should only take about 20 minutes, though. It should not be hours long. If you've got your resume in really good shape, then it should only take a few minutes to tailor it for each job. A couple of other employment history tips, and then we'll talk about LinkedIn, is obviously making sure that all of your sentences have really active, strong verbs. We would have you select the top 5 to 7 accomplishments that best highlight your experience under your employment history section. And make sure you include measurable results wherever possible. For a layoff gap, mention what you've been doing in the meantime. You've taken a class, you've been doing volunteer work, whatever it is. It's okay to reference like the dates of a layoff and even say, laid off at this time. These are the things I've been doing in the meantime so that it's upfront for people. Revising your LinkedIn profile is also critically important. You want to make sure that your summary under your About section is like sells you, but it also brands you effectively. And we like it when it's a little bit personal, at least a couple of sentences at the end, or the whole thing is written in first person so that you're talking to the reader and connecting with them more. Make sure that you search engine optimize your LinkedIn. We help our clients do that. Happy to help you do that as well if you need it. And get those recommendations because you can use those recommendations in different places on your LinkedIn profile and even in some cases on your resume. We want you to make sure that you've got a really nice branded banner like this one at the top of your LinkedIn profile. This is something that we do for clients as well. And we have resume and LinkedIn services that we can help you identify the right path, but then also make sure you're tailoring it to the right path as well, because that's a critically important piece. But one of the places you want to make sure that your profile is search engine optimized is in your title section here. This is a really important place there. If you want more advice about our coaching and resume services, happy to talk with you, or friends or family who you feel like need it. You can just email us at admin@createyourcareerpath. We always offer a quick free consult where I would talk with you directly about how we might be able to help you, if it's the right fit, and what our different options are. So feel free to reach out about that anytime. Happy to chat with you. We also want you to make sure, as part of getting your house in order, make sure that you have an elevator speech that highlights your strengths, your skills, but also what you're looking for too. This is an example on the next slide of something that we really like. Remember that you don't have to shove every single thing into your elevator speech into that 30 seconds at the beginning. You want to do the biggest like highlights of things and then tell people exactly what you're looking for. But keep in mind too that you're gonna have a chance to talk with that person a little bit more. So make it like as branded and marketable as possible at the beginning, but don't put so much pressure on yourself to feel like, oh, I have to fit every single thing in. Remember, you'll be able to continue that conversation. So you can add things in there kind of as the conversation progresses. The next step that we want you to take is to make sure that you're activating your network. It's still about who you know. LinkedIn and other like technology, obviously employers and recruiters looking for candidates on LinkedIn has made job searching different, in that some people feel like they can be a little bit more passive about stuff. But the people who get jobs the fastest are the people who do the most networking. That's what we find. So if you take a look at the right-hand side of this slide here, we want you to activate your network and start talking with as many people as possible about your search. Post on your LinkedIn profile and your activity feed that you are looking for a new position and this is what you're looking for and what you bring to the table. Join LinkedIn groups. We would suggest your alumni association first, and then an industry-specific LinkedIn group second. We've had employers and recruiters tell us that they will go try to find qualified candidates first inside of these LinkedIn groups because they know those people are paying attention to their professional development. We've had clients every once in a while use Facebook to do some networking. That's completely reasonable. Well, I would focus on LinkedIn first. You can try meetup.com if you live in a larger metropolitan area, because there are really good industry networking associations on meetup.com. And finally, network within your social groups. It's the more people you tell, the better off you're going to be. And then also check out if you're trying to get into, let's say, a new industry or stay within your same industry, but within a different organization, it's a really good idea to check out industry-specific associations in your local area. Those are great events to attend, to network with people who are currently employed, and can give you some great advice about your job search, how to put your best foot forward, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you really activate your network. And step number 5, our last step for today, and as a reminder, look out for the email with the recording from today. Make sure you create a job search plan and get support. Set a schedule for yourself. What are you going to do every day and every week? So, for example, I've got a daily schedule for my job search. I get up at 8 a.m. I'm going to be done with my day at like 4 p.m. I take lunch. I make sure I have like 1 or 2 meetings every day that are live. I, apply to 2 or 3 jobs every day, for example. And I make, 5 new networking connections every single day. Like, if you set goals for yourself about what you're going to do every day and what you want to achieve every week as well, you're going to be much more likely to be successful because you've got tangible things that you're working towards. Stay organized with your search. Create an Excel spreadsheet. We have one that we give to our clients. It's a job search spreadsheet that gives them the 5 things that we want them to be doing every single day. And they're all set up in pre-created tabs so that they can just pop open that sheet and they know what they need to do for that day. And also it helps them plan for their week. And as part of this, one of the ways to stay organized is obviously set up those job alerts online. We'd recommend starting with LinkedIn there first. A couple of other things is to update your voicemail on your cell phone so that it's not just the robotic voice, so that if and when people do contact you or call you, they know they're getting the right person and they connect with you. People connect with a voice and a person more than they do a LinkedIn profile or just a piece of paper. Remember that. Make sure that with your job search email address, you create a professional signature line that has all of your contact information in there, as well as a link to your LinkedIn profile. And finally, make sure that you practice self-care. We do not feel like you have to spend 8 or 10 hours a day sitting at your desk job searching. That is not the most effective use of your time. It's about being efficient here. So make sure that you add into your schedule self-care, join a job search group, find a job search support partner, whether it's a coach like us or someone else. And by the way, when people coach with us, we recommend that they get someone else in their lives to help support them through the journey, because it can be a lot and can be overwhelming, especially if you're trying to shift into something or find a job that you really love and enjoy. So our last step is to really create a plan, create structure for yourself, and get support. So finally, before we go for today, and we normally do not do Q&A for these half hour because we focus on trying to give you as much complimentary content as we can, but we do want you to write down 2 action steps that you will take in the next week, if you would, to make this real for yourself. We know that you're busy, and how many times have we're energized by a webinar and then life happens, our kid gets sick, that type of thing too. So if you can write down just 2 things that you'll do in the next week, that would be fantastic. Please feel free to share those with us by emailing us at admin@createyourcareerpath.com. We'd love to hear them. One action step could be prep your materials. Another action step could be getting support. A third one, and actually the biggest one that I would recommend if I had to pick out of all of them, would be to review the ideal career model so that you are making sure that your search is really, really targeted and specific. People can tell when you are passionate about and know what you really want to do, and they want to hire people that are clear like that. So it comes across when you're networking and interviewing. So make sure that you use our model to help you get really clear first, and it will help you with your brand as well. Then start working on prepping your materials and getting that support over time. Thank you so much for your time today, everybody. We greatly appreciate it and hope this was helpful for you. If you'd like to do a free consult because you're interested in our coaching services, just email us and we'll send you a scheduling link to get set up with me. And we hope you do as well as you possibly can with processing your emotions related to being laid off, because we know this is really, really tough. Try to turn that energy around into positive action steps and seeing this as much as you can as an opportunity to find the right next fit. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for your time.